2025 is going to be your fittest year yet, and here's how you'll make it happen. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Always Active podcast, the show that empowers you to lead an active lifestyle. I'm your host, Katie, and in this episode, I'll be sharing exactly what I did this year to set my 2025 goals. Over the past few weeks, I've been spending some time completing my annual review for 2024, as well as setting my 2025 goals. And so I'm going to share how I reflected on 2024, how I brainstormed goals for 2025, how I created my vision board, and how I use Notion to stay organized. I'll also be sharing my 2025 health and fitness goals with you to give you inspiration if you're looking for ideas for 2025 goals for yourself. So I'm really excited for this episode and for everything that's to come in this new year. And without further ado, let's get psyched to move. Let's dive in with the first step of this process, which was reflecting on 2024. Before diving into the actual goal setting process, I started with completing an annual reflection. This is something that I've been doing for the past several years, and this took me a couple hours to do. In the last episode, I shared some prompts with you for how you can complete your own 2024 reflection. But if you haven't listened yet, the main prompts included first listing out your accomplishments month by month, reflecting on what your biggest successes and challenges were throughout the year, as well as reflecting on the biggest lessons that you learned throughout the year. And then also spending some time comparing your vision board to photos that you captured on your camera throughout the year. In case you haven't done your 2024 reflection yet, I will list out the resource that I created that includes these prompts in the show notes once again. This step is really essential because it's going to help you to identify the biggest accomplishments that you had throughout the year, as well as maybe some of the gaps and goals that you didn't achieve. It'll help you to identify reasons why you felt your best last year, and also maybe even reasons why you didn't feel your best. And in doing this, it can help to inform your 2025 goal setting, so that way you can have a better understanding of how you want to feel in the upcoming year. So don't skip this step. Even though it's not directly related to 2025, I think it's so essential to do this end of year reflection. After reflecting on 2024, my next step was to brainstorm my 2025 goals. So I just did a huge brain dump. I typed out all of my potential goals that I might want to accomplish, and I really didn't have a filter at this point. I just wrote down everything that came to mind. And a big source of inspiration that I drew from when brainstorming these goals was I looked at my previous vision boards that I've created over the past 2 years, as well as my goal setting database that I've had in place for the past 2 years. If you don't have a goal setting database yet, we can create one today, and I'll be sharing what mine currently looks like to help set you up. Through this brainstorming process, I landed on almost 100 goals, which I know is a lot, and don't worry, I'm not going to try to accomplish all 100 goals this year, but I still think it's necessary to do this brainstorm process because it really helps you to be creative and just helps you to think big picture, blue sky scenario. What is it that you want to accomplish in your future? After I came up with all of these goals, they weren't necessarily written as strong goals yet. So then I went through each of these goals and refined the wording to make these goals better. Be sure to listen to episode 11 where I share my goal setting tips and strategies for creating effective goals. So now I have all these goals and they are written more effectively. And then the next step is to input these goals into my Notion database. I've been building a goal setting database on Notion for the past 2 years, so this will be my 3rd year using it, and I've found that it's been a very effective strategy to organize my goals and have them all in one place. And this is a hub that I continuously refer to throughout the year and in future years when setting my goals. Over the past few years, I have really experimented with different labels, and I think I've landed on something that is quite effective. I'm sure I'll continue to update it in the future, but I'll share what my current goal setting database looks like. I'm going to get into the details for how I set up these databases and the different labels that I apply, but to make things easier, I've created a resource that's linked in the show notes that you can refer to when setting up your own goal setting database. So in terms of the labels on this database, in the first column, I have the goal written out, and I also put an emoji next to it that is reflective of the goal. Having these emojis just helps to bring the Notion database to life versus just having a boring database with text only. The next label is the goal category. So I have 7 different categories that I could assign the goal to, and these include health and fitness, career and education, education, my brand, personal development, relationships and experiences, financial goals, and spiritual goals. Of course, with all of this, you can come up with your own categories that resonate the most with you. The next label is the goal type. So is it an outcome-based goal or a behavioral goal? Outcome goals will be things that you could sort of check off once you achieve them and have this end outcome, versus a behavioral goal is more of a habit and something that you'll repeat time and time again. Or maybe it's an intention-based goal, so something that's more of an overarching intention. Then I label the goal with its frequency. So is this a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly goal? The next label is the status. So is this a past goal? Is it a goal that you've completed if it was an outcome goal, or established if it was a behavioral goal? And then you'll also label if it is a goal for 2025 or if it's a goal for the future. The next label is the quarter. So is this a Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4 goal? You're going to leave that blank for now. And then you'll put a label for if there is a deadline. So maybe the goal is associated with some sort of event. You would input the deadline for this goal. So those are the different labels that I apply to my goals. And then I have different database views. The first database view is past goals. So these are any goals that I've completed in the past. The next view is 2025 goals. So these are goals that I intend to complete this year. And then the last view is future goals. So these are goals that I don't intend to complete this year, but I would like to complete at some point. So the way to set up these views is you would apply filters. So that way the database filters the items that apply to the specific status of the goal. So for example, if you labeled the goal as a 2025 goal, then the 2025 view would filter the goals that only have the label of 2025. My reasoning for using this database is because it really helps to organize everything and put all of my goals into one place, and it's a great reference point for when I am tracking my goals throughout the year. So now all my 2025 goals are in the database, but I haven't yet labeled them for when I intend to complete them. So this brings me to the next part of the process, which is something that's new for me in 2025, which is setting quarterly goals. This year I decided that I want to take the 12-week year approach. This is something that I mentioned in the Winter Arc podcast. It's based on a concept from a book called the 12-week year. And essentially the idea is that a year is too long for most people to stay focused. And so instead of setting goals for an entire year, instead you break down your year into 4 quarters and set goals for each quarter. And this helps you to stay more focused on the goals that you're setting and hopefully achieve more in 12 weeks than most people achieve in 12 months. Like I said before, I brainstormed almost 100 goals, and that's a lot. And so some of the goals I right off the bat labeled them as a future goal, so I pushed them to 2026. Then any goals that have a specific date associated with them, I set a deadline. And then I prioritized a few goals from each category for each quarter of the year. Also, for any habits that I've already established, I mark them as a Q1 goal because this is something that I will have the intention to maintain throughout Q1 as well. I decided to take this 12-week year approach this year because it's something that I heard a lot about in 2024, but I hadn't yet been applying. And so I think that by doing this, it will help me to stay more motivated and more focused throughout the year, and also less overwhelmed because, like I said, 100 goals is a lot. I don't think it's realistic for me to implement all of these different lifestyle changes all at the same time. And so by breaking it down this way, it'll be much more manageable, and I can probably end up achieving more over the course of the whole year. Now let's talk about my health and fitness goals for 2025. So you might be like, how do you have 100 goals? Where did you come up with these? Like I said, they're across all different categories, but I'm not going to dive into all nearly 100 goals, but I will share with you my health and fitness goals for this year to help inspire you. It's not meant to be a comparison game, whether you've already accomplished goals that I haven't accomplished, or if I've already established habits that you haven't. That doesn't matter. This is just meant to inspire you and give you ideas, and we are all on our own unique journey and working on different goals at our own time. So my health and fitness goals for Q1. The first is to use my standing desk each day. So I got a standing desk for Christmas this year, which I was super excited about, and I can actually link the standing desk in the show notes so that way you can get it yourself if you're interested. It's actually just a standing desk converter that you place on top of your existing desk, and then you can move it up and down throughout the day depending on when you want to stand or sit. This is something that I think I needed in my life. As much as I always preach leading an active lifestyle, I'm someone who works a very sedentary job. I pretty much just sit at my desk all day. And so I'm excited to incorporate more standing into my daily routine. My next goal is to drink 2 liters of water each day. I started seeing a naturopath at the end of 2024, and she recommended to me that I should be drinking more than 2 liters of water a day, but I don't even think I drink 1.5 liters of water a day consistently yet. So I figured this would be a manageable starting point that I can then increase from. My next goal is to golf weekly. So this is going to be a big one for me in 2025. One of my bigger goals is to get really good at golf this year and be able to golf on a full length course, a non-beginner course. And I have a trip planned at the end of the year where I would really love to golf on a course with some stunning views. And so the only way I'm going to be prepared for that is if I start now. I'm going to be going to the indoor golf simulator. It's not going to be as fun and exciting, but if I want to get better, I need to start now. And so golfing weekly is going to be on the radar for Q1. I also want to use the sauna more regularly. I have a sauna at my gym and I literally never use it. So my goal for Q1 is to use the sauna after at least one gym workout per week. Another overarching intention for me for Q1 is to increase my protein and my fiber intake. And in order for me to achieve this goal, a weekly habit that I'm going to be implementing is meal planning and prepping every week. This is something that I have always struggled with. As much as I feel like I have a very good routine when it comes to fitness and working out, the nutrition component has always been so difficult for me. And so in 2025, we're going to change that. I'm going to become an expert meal prepper. I'm going to be in my chef era, and I'm so excited to share with you everything I learned throughout this process. And then a few habits that I've already established, but I want to still maintain within Q1. The first is to stretch daily. This is something I've been doing for several years, but I've recently incorporated it into my night routine. So I want to stretch for about 10 minutes every night before I go to sleep. I also have the habit of sleeping for about 8 hours every night. But something that I've been pretty inconsistent with is having a set bedtime and wake up time. And so recently in December, I got really on top of getting to sleep by 11 and waking up by 7 every day. And I want to maintain this in the new year, if not shifting my schedule even earlier. A habit that I started in 2023 that I continued through 2024 and want to bring into the new year is attending at least one yoga class every week. I also want to continue completing weightlifting workouts at the gym at least 3 times per week. And I also want to continue regularly attending appointments with my naturopath. So those are my Q1 goals. I think they are realistic. They're definitely ambitious because there's a lot going on there, but I am confident that if I stay focused and I implement the systems that will help me to achieve these goals, then I can do it. I'm not going to chat about the specific systems that I'm using today, but that's definitely something that I'll talk about in a future episode. And then I'll just kind of rapid fire through my other health and fitness goals for Q2, 3, and 4. I'd like to walk 10,000 steps a day, go for morning walks every day, track my macros every day for a couple months, complete at least one cardio session each week, play pickleball every week once the spring and summer rolls around. I'd like to hike every month once the weather gets nicer. I plan to take golf lessons. A big goal of mine is to work toward building 5 pounds of muscle. So that's something I'm already starting now with the weightlifting and the meal prepping. In the summer, I'm going to play soccer every week. I also want to run one 5-kilometer race this year. I'd like to try a new group fitness class outside of my regular routine at least once a month. I want to experience riding in a golf cart during a golf game, meaning I am on a full-length non-beginner course by the end of the year. And I also want to take on a big fitness challenge of some sort and document it on social media. So those are my goals. I hope some of them sparked interest in you or maybe led you to think of some ideas of health and fitness goals that might be relevant to you. And we'll see how I do with all of these. I know it's a lot, but by sharing my goals with you, you're helping to hold me accountable. And by taking my quarterly goal setting and progress tracking approach, I am confident that I will achieve these goals throughout the year. And of course, at this point in the year, I don't know what 2025 will bring, kind of like how last year I signed up for High Rocks in the spring and I hadn't even heard about it before. I'm hoping that there will be some new and exciting fitness goals that come my way throughout the year. Moving on to the next step of the process, after I inputted all of my goals into my database, was creating a vision board. The purpose of creating a vision board is to have a visual representation of your goals. And I really just find it inspiring and motivating and something that makes me happy to look at every day. This year, for the first time, I'm going to be creating quarterly vision boards instead of an annual vision board. So the past 2 years, I created a vision board at the beginning of the year and then just kind of updated it throughout the year if there were little goals that came up. Or I also updated it through the year with photos on my own camera roll that came to life from my vision board. But this year, I want to curate a very specific vibe for each quarter of the year. So my Q1 vision board is going to look very different from my vision boards for the other quarters of the year. And I think that by doing this, it's going to motivate me even more. Unlike last year, where I just did a big vision board versus reality comparison at the end of the year, which is great and exciting, it's not super motivating for me in terms of making progress if I only have that to look forward to at the end of the year. So now every 3 months, I'll look forward to comparing my vision board to my camera roll, and I'll plan to share that on my Instagram as well. So to create a vision board, you want to start by listing out the different types of images that you would like to include on your vision board that relate to your goals. And then I like to go on Pinterest and search up these different images and then pin them to a 2025 vision board Pinterest board. Something to help with making this look nice and aesthetic is typing the word aesthetic after every goal. So for example, you could type fitness aesthetic, meal prep aesthetic, gym aesthetic. First, I just go through and pin a bunch of images, anything that stands out to me, and then I select my top favorite images, save them to my computer, and then put them into a collage on Canva. I'm going to be honest, I spent more time than I would like to admit on my Q1 vision board. I spent a couple hours this past Saturday night finding images and creating my collage, and then I put it on my lock screen and I was just like, this is not it. It's not giving what it needs to give. I need to redo this whole thing. And so when I redid it, I wanted to have more of a winter aesthetic to keep all of the images looking cohesive, because before, all of the colors of the images were kind of all over the place and it just didn't blend well together. So I figured out on Pinterest that if I typed soft winter aesthetic followed by my goal, then I would find images that looked more similar to each other. That's like such an extra detail, but if you want it to look really nice, then I recommend doing that. So the vision board that I created for Q1 is more dark tones and snowy vibes and just winter cozy vibes, versus when I go to create my spring vision board, it's going to be brighter colors, more sunny outdoors to better reflect what the vibe will be like at that time. And I actually think this is going to be very helpful because a lot of times I don't find that the vision board that I create for the whole year really aligns with the current season that I'm going through. So hopefully this is an effective strategy this year. And then once I create my vision board, I put it all over the place. I actually already created a physical vision board, as you can see in the background. I made this earlier in December because my sister Kira hosted a vision board night at her place, and that was really fun. I've never had a physical vision board before, so now I can have it in my room as decor, and I'll see that every day when I wake up. And that vision board more so is an annual vision board to capture the overall vibe for 2025. And then my digital quarterly vision boards that I create will go on my computer desktop background, my phone background, my iPad background, and in my Notion goal setting workspace. So it's going to be in a lot of places. I'm going to see these images every single day, and it's really just going to help reinforce the goals that I have set out to achieve this quarter. Finally, let's talk about how I plan to actually stay accountable throughout the year. So it's great. I did this reflection process. I set all these goals. I made a vision board, but if I don't do anything beyond that, then none of these goals are going to happen. So I need to actually put in the work all throughout the year so that way I can achieve my goals. The first way I'm going to do this is by doing monthly check-ins with two of my accountability buddies on Zoom. We have been doing this for the past 2 years, and we set a monthly standing meeting where we just spend about an hour going over the goals that we had set for the past month and then setting goals for the new month. And when we do this, we set specific action items for each goal. And I also usually put a reward in place. So if I achieve these 3 goals, then I'm going to get myself this reward just to have an added incentive. So these monthly check-ins are essential to actually ensure that I am following through with my intentions that I set at the beginning of the year, and to actually spend the time to implement specific action items for each of my goals. Because just listing out my goals isn't enough. I need to set specific action items and then incorporate these action items into my existing systems, so that way I will regularly complete the habits that I need to complete or do the work that I need to do to achieve my larger goals. In addition to these monthly goal setting sessions where I have my friends to hold me accountable, this year I also plan to do quarterly goal check-ins. So I'm just going to set a reminder every 3 months to go back and revisit my goal setting database and reassess my progress on my goals, refine my goals as needed, and then create a new vision board for each quarter. And this step of tracking my progress is so key. You cannot skip this step because this is going to help motivate you because you're seeing the progress that you're making. It's going to help you to pivot or shift directions if needed. It's going to help you reevaluate if the goals that you set at the beginning of the year are still meaningful to you. And overall, it's just super necessary. So that way you don't get to the end of the year and think, wow, I set all these goals and I achieved none of them. No, you're actually going to make your New Year's resolutions happen because they're not New Year's resolutions. They are goals. They are things that you are continuously revisiting and acting upon and making happen. Moving on to the community responses, I asked you over on Instagram questions related to your 2025 goal setting. The first question I asked was, are you setting goals and or creating a vision board for 2025? 33% of you said, yes, I already did. 39% of you said, yes, it's in progress. 17% of you said, yes, I will soon. And 11% of you said, no, I don't set New Year goals. So it seems like many of you are setting 2025 goals. Next, I asked you, how confident are you in your ability to achieve your 2025 goals? I asked this on a scale ranging from not at all confident to very confident. The average response was about at the 75% mark. So you are feeling confident, which is great. I'm glad you're feeling confident to tackle your goals. And I really hope the best for all of you on your health and fitness journey this year and with all of your other goals in life. Next, I asked, what's your biggest fitness goal for 2025? One of you said continuing to remain consistent. I think that is an excellent intention to have in place and just staying consistent with all of the habits that you've already established in your routine. Another response was prioritizing myself. I think that's another important intention because you need to be able to prioritize yourself, especially when it comes to your health and fitness. You need to take care of yourself so that way you can fill your cup to the point where it is overflowing and you have the capacity to prioritize others as well. My friend Joya said, train for High Rocks 2026. If you listen to episode 1 of the High Rocks Diaries, you will know that Joya was my High Rocks training partner. And so I love this, that she is already thinking about 2026 and setting those fitness goals now to be prepared for the next time High Rocks comes around. The next response was bench 170 pounds. I love how specific of a goal that is related to strength at the gym. Setting these goals is very effective because it is very easy to measure your progress with this kind of goal. You can just see that you are consistently increasing the weight that you are bench pressing week after week through progressive overload. So that's awesome. And the last response, work out with my besties once a week. That's another great habit-based goal and something that you can measure as well. Set a recurring time to go to the gym with your friends, check in with them every week, make sure that you're holding each other accountable, and it will help not only you, but also your friends to achieve their fitness goals and make it a lot more fun in the process. The last question I asked was, which of my 2025 fitness goals would you most like to hear about on the podcast? 55% of you said building 5 pounds of muscle. So that is overwhelmingly the top response. This is definitely something that I want to share my journey on throughout the year. It's already been in the works. It's already something that I started working toward back in the fall. And so I will definitely be updating you on this journey. 20% of you said you're interested in hearing about my journey learning how to meal prep. 15% of you are interested in hearing about my experience with using a standing desk. And 10% of you would like to hear about my experience learning how to golf. So thank you for your responses. This is definitely going to help to shape the future of the podcast in 2025 and the different things that I'll be sharing with you. I'm really looking forward to tackling all of these goals and sharing my progress with you on the podcast as well as my other social media platforms. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope this helped to inspire you and give you strategies to set your 2025 goals. Be sure to take anything that helped you from this episode and incorporate it into your own goal setting approach that is unique and custom to you. I believe in you. You're going to achieve your fitness goals in 2025. Just keep pushing forward and you're going to make it happen. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. I have a lot in store for the podcast in 2025 and I'm really excited for all that is to come. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at all.ways.active, where I share other updates, and that's where you can also share your responses to be featured on the podcast. I'm wishing you all the best for the new year, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.